Let me see. I'm looking for questions now. So we're done. Oh, sorry. So here's the thing. If you're here, we're done in terms of the formal portion of our event. We're done. I will take some more questions, but if you are watching this later or if you're here right now having come back, just be aware from here on out, I'm just going to talk to anybody about any book they want. So if somebody brings up a Luna question and you weren't here for Luna, you might get a spoiler. So maybe you don't want to be here or maybe you don't have time. It's totally cool. If nobody has any time, I'm going to stay here and talk through a couple of things that I want to talk about. But I just want you to know once I finish the announcements and stuff that I'm about to make, if we stick around, it's to answer questions and you might get something you weren't planning to get. So be on your guard. What I want to tell you all who are here, I just said to you, July, August was really rough and I was feeling like a failure. What I had hoped would be happening today is that I would be able to give you a formal announcement and some material to read about the book that I've not been able to tell you about. Because there is a book right now that I am in the process of writing that is contracted, and there's very exciting things going on with it, but it's all new and it's all like you've had none of it. You don't know, and the reason you don't know is because of what they're doing. So, yes, yes, Caroline, we have derailed completely. Um, but that's okay. That's what that's what I'm good at. Um, so what I want you to know, what I can tell you right now, I think maybe even as early as tomorrow, but certainly this week, I expect to be able to introduce you to a whole new hero. You've had one post about him weeks ago in the Facebook group, and that was before I knew what was going to happen with him. What the um, situation is that back in August and July, when I was trying to get another book contracted, um, oh, wait, what? There's a question. Wait a second. Man virgins. Where? Where is there a question about man virgins? Yes, man virgins are a thing. My next book. Okay. I don't know. You're going to have to find the question and post it for me because I don't know what question you have, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm writing a new book right now that is an idea that I had, I think like 7 or 8 years ago. There was another idea that I had at the same time. Um, and the fact that this one that I've got is gonna hopefully go really well. We'll see. But let's put it this way: the new book that I have that I hope to introduce you to this week. It will be this week, most likely next week at the latest. Um, that book will be given the best shot of any book that I have ever written for being a big success. It might not be. There is always a risk, right? But if it's not, it's on me because the platform is going to do everything they can, and they are in the process of doing everything they can to make this book a success. So it's a very big deal for me. It could fall flat on its face, but I know I just knew when the opportunity came up, I went, I cannot pass that up. So there is a new book coming, and it might be huge or it might be nothing. We're going to find out together. The thing that the man virgin thing is just reminded me of. At the same time, this is a concept that I had many years ago and never found. I actually had it when I was writing YA, and I just couldn't find the right way to deliver it at the time. And now I can see it's because it needed adult characters. It needed to not be teenagers. Um, and apparently it needed werewolves. But you'll see. You'll see. Hopefully very soon, hopefully in the next few days. Around that same time, I had another idea that I wanted to do that I couldn't sell. At the time I was still in traditional. I tried pitching it to agents. I couldn't get anybody to pick it up and go, you're onto something there. But I now see and I now believe, just like this one that you're going to see hopefully in the next few days, I think that this concept is exactly right for serialization, and I hope it's the next book I'll write after this, and it involves a man virgin. So yes, man virgins do exist, and apparently they're going to exist in my world, unless something goes really funky. Um, so did somebody? What is the man virgin question? Oh, when are we getting a story with the man? Oh well, I just answered that. Hopefully, I would say early next year. Um, if this story that I'm writing right now does what I think it's going to do, it'll finish early next year. And on the back of that, there will be some crossover. On the back of I want to start this other story, which is completely unrelated. So it's not like, ooh, it's a series. No. The story that I'm doing right now, standalone story. This other one, standalone story. They have no relation to each other except that I had the ideas at around the same time. So yes, pay attention, Mary. I believe you'll be getting a man virgin story next year. We'll see. We will see. Positive mental attitude, yes. With a man virgin, we may have to fall flat on his face. I'm missing something. I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, Cervanthi knows and remembers Rig is going to land soon. Yes. You're going to get to see him, meet him, and enjoy him, hopefully. Hopefully. Rig is different. He is different to my other guys. So I think you're either going to love him or hate him, honestly. Um, and yes, he is arriving probably this week. I thought he was going to arrive. Well, I thought I was going to get the green light to introduce you to him last week, and then I'd be able to do that here today, and I'd be able to send you sample material, and you'd be able to get excited, and then we'd see him go live this week. He may still go live this week, but I haven't gotten the big rig. No, that's not his real name, but it would be appropriate. Um, yeah, hopefully Rig's going live this week, and if he is, you'll get to meet him. Whenever he is, you'll get to meet him a couple of days in advance, unless they pull something on me, because we've had to push out. Last week, all of the editors and content teams were on vacation. They had a public holiday because they're in a different country. And so everything got pushed back by a week. I didn't know that when I was originally sort of setting the date for this thing. And so I thought I was going to come in today and do the whole, hey, guess what? But I'm not getting to do that. The thing that you should know, because I think most of you who are in here now are in my Patreon, I'm not allowed to digitally post this story anywhere. But what I am allowed to do contractually is publish it in paperback. So the Patreon for this is going to be a little bit different. If you're in the higher tiers, you're unaffected. You're going to get the story in paperback, but it's going to come to you kind of in installments every 2 or 3 months. If you are somebody who would normally, I mean, obviously anybody can go read it. It's going to be on a new platform, so you don't have to follow it. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm going to be able to provide this book to you in paper. And I'm really excited about that. Obviously, that means it takes longer because I have to get it to a certain point so that you got enough of the story. But this book is going to be different in the way that things go. So it is still a serialized story, but it's just I'm excited. I'm excited for when the day comes that I can tell you everything that's going on. Right now, I can't, and that's kind of frustrating. So thank you for being here and listening to my vague book. Don't you hate it when people do that? Where will the story about Rig be? I can't tell you that yet, but I hope to tell you that this week. It's not a platform I have been on before. Sorry. But on Patreon, you can support it and get it in paperback. But you'll get it, like I say, in installments every 2 or 3 months. Yes, you can. Well, so the paperback thing, you can either sign up the book that's on Patreon that says coming soon. If you go in there now and it's got the coming soon thing. If you buy that tier only, which is I think $8 a month, the third month you'll get a paperback, and you can just keep doing that as long as the book is going. Um, but the other thing that I'll be able to do is once the book is completed, I'll be able to actually just sell paperbacks of it. Um, but they can't be like I can't like put it on Amazon. What I have to do is literally have it printed and have copies of it and sell them like I can put it on Etsy. I can't put it on Amazon. It can't be I can't be competing with the publisher, but I can be a provider for it if that makes sense. So it's a little bit different, but I'm kind of excited about it. It'll be fun. Everybody always wants the book in paper. Finally, I can do that and I can do it legitimately. So I'm excited about that. Okay. Is there any other questions? Is there anything anybody would like me to talk about now that I've had you here for 2.5 hours? I'm gonna watch the chat for a second and not look away because I look away and then people put stuff. We even love to hate the villains you write. I love that because I love to hate them too. Like, it's like I want to read them and I want to write them. They're fun to write. Um, but at the same time, like, there's legitimate, like, disgust there. Here's a long ago question I have had since I finished reading Taming the Queen of Beasts. Okay, so if you have not finished reading Queen, it was wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, why did Elra's first selected cohort's council disappear from being her assistants after she and Aaron became a known couple in anima? So there's two things that caused that. The first was um, the the first is just a pure author fail. I lost sight of what because when I planned the story, the arrival of the humans or the arrival of the awareness of the humans was planned to come later than it did. There was going to be more development of Elrith and Aaron and their relationship and her rule, all of that stuff, which would have involved the cohorts. That was there's a whole chunk of that story that I didn't end up telling, and the reason I didn't end up telling it was because I got to a certain place, a certain trigger that was supposed to happen, and it very organically came out and connected to the humans in a way that I didn't plan in advance. So a whole chunk of my planned plotting got thrown out the window, and I had to very, very quickly figure out what I was doing with this human war thing. And and it was definitely the right direction for the story to go. I've told you guys before in these lives, sometimes something just happens as you're writing and you get, oh, yes. So I knew that it was the right way to go with the story, but what that did was it threw away a whole bunch of my notes and made me make a whole bunch of new ones. And when I made the whole bunch of new notes, the focus was all on the prophecy, the fulfillment of it, how that was going to come together, what was going on with the tribes, and blah, 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 blah. And I literally got so caught up because things were moving really fast and faster than I had intended them to. I got so caught up in that that I just dropped the trail of the cohorts. Like, they just dropped off the radar, especially Gwen. I tried to bring her back in later, and then everything went to pot in the story, and once again it just fell off the radar. So really, mostly it was a failure of my planning, but also Elrith's rule was so different to every rule that had happened before, and her structure, her support network that she had around her was so different. In the end, she really didn't need the cohorts. She had Aaron, she had Gar, she had her parents. Um, they didn't fit the bill to be her cohorts on a traditional level, so I couldn't just make them her cohorts. But really, they were what she needed. So I'm actually not unhappy about the story in the sense of I don't think I think putting the cohorts in as it happened would have been like wedging them in. Um, but what I should have done differently, or what I didn't know I needed to do differently. This is a, this is a hazard of serialization. You're writing, you're publishing as you write. If I were to gone back, knowing what I know now, I would not have brought up Gwen or Hunter. I wouldn't have brought them in. I would have had her try to appoint Aaron and have that failure happen. And then she just got distracted by everything else that was going on and never went back to appoint the cohorts because they weren't needed for the story. Elia needed her cohorts. Elrith did not. So, and some, yes, and well, that's what I mean. Elrith, so Linda said some of Elia's supporting persons were used by Elrith too. Yes, Elrith already had her network in place, and I didn't realize that at the beginning. So, had I realized that, I would have set it up differently. But did you always know that you were going to do a crossover with Anima and Thana? No. Oh, again, hope nobody's here who hasn't read Dark Alpha yet. So, in fact, I was really specific at the beginning of Dark Alpha that it was not an Anima story. It really wasn't. 100% was not and was never intended to be. It was supposed to be completely separate, its own world, its own thing. But what happened was, as I was developing the story, I always knew that they were going to use the gateways to get out and escape the humans. But I didn't know exactly where I was going to take them to do that. And it just so happened that while I was plotting that last, 2 or 3 months of Dark Alpha, I had just moved into the part of Queen in terms of the writing. I finished writing Queen in March of this year. It didn't finish posting till I think the first week of May, but I finished writing almost all of it in March. I think I had a few days in April. And when I switched, so I finished writing Queen so that I knew it was done, because at that point I was starting to look into Demon Slayer and his Stolen Luna. I knew I needed to clear room on my calendar. Spent most of March writing Queen and finishing it. And then immediately had to go into Alpha because it was publishing and it had caught up with me. You guys will remember there was a week or two there where the updates weren't great, and it was because of this. And so then I go straight into Alpha and now I've got a plot to the end because I have to write so this is late March, early April. I'm writing an Alpha and I've got to plan it to the end, which was going to happen in the first week of June. And one of the questions is, where am I taking them? Like, where are they going to land? And how much of that am I going to show? And it had to be, the whole premise was that Sasha's going, humans can't get at us. Well, duh, I've just written a story that was entirely about eradicating the access of humans to anima. Perfect place for them to go. The gateway can take them there. It happened in the past. It's a world where the humans can't get to anymore. And I was like, duh. And to be honest with you, when it happened, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I was excited about it. I saw that interaction between Sasha, Zev, and Elrith, and it gave me goosebumps. I was like, this is perfect. But because I hadn't seen it or planned it earlier, I had said all this stuff at the beginning of the book about how it had nothing to do with anima and it was not a crossover story, blah, 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 blah. And then right at the end, literally the last chapter, it became a crossover story. So no, it wasn't planned in advance, but I do not regret it. Yeah, I think it was the perfect place for them to go. And of course now we have warrior beasts, so. Laren was never a villain. I wouldn't say that. I'll be really honest with you. Even though Laren always had a good heart at his core, he was a villain. I had to redeem him. So he didn't stay a villain. But he was a villain at the beginning of Volume 2 in King of Beasts, which is where he becomes a point of view character. He was a villain. And in fact, for the last I don't know how many chapters of the first volume he was as well, but he was revealed to be a villain. He wasn't originally written as if he was one. Um, I thought you lied to us. No, I really didn't. I really 100% hand on heart did not intend to cross those two stories, those two worlds. But I'm glad that it worked out that way. God set me up. I didn't know what he was doing. He set me up. Just like Wrath and Aura. Set me up. Um, Still unclear on the future difference in years on a timeline. That stuff's going to become more clear through Warrior Beast. I think you are reading Warrior Beast, aren't you, Linda? So how that crossover occurred and when, that's all going to become clearer when the two people start to talk more. Um, Things will come out that reveal the connection between them. And some of it's going to be speculation because obviously none of the parties that are now involved in the story were present at both ends. So the Anima people have awareness of what happened at the end of Queen of Beasts. The Thana people have awareness of what happened at the beginning of Dark Alpha, or even leading up to Dark Alpha. There's some of what they're gonna discover is going to be speculation. They're going to have to kind of fill in the blanks, but you're going to get a clearer picture of how the two cross over and why it happened and when and all of that. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable with having used the years already because I'm not 100% that they're going to be right. But we'll stick with it for now. Rika's onto it. She knows she's onto it enough. She's not off on her speculation that you've read so far. Anyway, I see it's now 3:30, 3:35, so I should probably get off of here because I do have a family. Is there any other quick questions about anything? Thank you, by the way, for coming. I'm sorry that I know some of you that are in the Discord like the Discord because we can actually talk back and forth, and I actually prefer that too. But it's just too hard of a platform to get everybody together. Too many people struggle with it. I do want to PM you about the dates. I'm not going to have answers for you that are clear yet because I know the rough difference between the two, when what happened where, but it's all very rough. Do you ever explain how Rika got Peg? I didn't, but that will come up. That's going to be a part of this. If you're reading Warrior Beast, you're going to learn about Peg. You're going to learn about the connection between the two worlds, the connection between the humans, and you're going to see the two peoples eventually learn the truth about each other. Thank you, Linda. That's really special. Really sweet. Um, okay, so I'm gonna say bye-bye and thank you. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for listening to me. I don't even know if it's in the book, but one of my love languages is being listened to. So every time we do this, I walk out feeling like, oh, people love me. So y'all are feeding me, feeding my heart. Um, but yeah, and keep an eye out. We might be doing an event the second Sunday in November. I will let you know because there's some exciting things going on both with the new book and with Warrior Beast that you don't know about yet. If you are, I think all of you guys are in my Facebook group. If you're watching this and you're not, you should get in there because the Facebook and Patreon are getting information that other people aren't getting, and they're also getting it earlier. Um, so just watch. I don't know why the Facebook group seems to show some posts to lots of people and other ones not so much, and I don't know why. So I don't know when I put an announcement out how many of you get to see it. So if you haven't seen new news from me in the next sort of 10 days, I would say jump into the group, like actually go and find the group in your listings in Facebook. There's two ways. If you're on a website, on the left-hand menu, there's a thing called groups. You can hit that and you can go into the Amy's Reader Tribe. If you're on the app, I think it's the top right-hand corner, there's a little icon that usually shows your profile picture with like a circle around it. If you hit that, one of the options that comes up is groups. You can actually go into the group page and see the posts that it hasn't shown you like in your feed. Um, I would keep an eye out there over the next week or two. No later than the 26th of October. By the 26th of October, all of the announcements, I believe all of the announcements I have to make, which I think are three, will have been made. So keep watching. Keep watching. There's some fun stuff going on. Okay, I'm going to go. I love you guys, and I'm very grateful. And yeah, hopefully, we'll be talking again in just a little over a month. I think it's the 13th of November is the second Sunday. Oh, I don't have my calendar here. Second Sunday of November. Put it on the calendar just in case. I'll let you know a little bit closer to the time if it's going to happen or not. Okay. Thank you for being here. I'm going to press end. Goodbye. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.